Alrighty, welcome back. So today's video, we'll be jumping into section 26 on the fuselage build. Today is December 5th. I'm not sure when this video is going to post, but yesterday, December 4th, Vans did make the announcement that they did file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I know nothing about bankruptcy. I'm going to try to keep away from the topic of all this on stuff I don't know, but my basic understanding is it is a restructuring of the company. It's going to suck on all ends for everyone, but my understanding is Vans will continue to operate going forward. We will see increases in prices. We do currently, Amanda and I have a finishing kit that's been on order with Vans. So my understanding is I'll be contacted in the coming days to weeks, not sure how long it'll take, but they'll be contacting us with open orders, letting us know what the updated increased price is going to be for that kit. Our intention is to still move forward and continue with the build, but again, there's still a lot of unknowns throughout the whole thing, and again, I'm going to try to stay out of it, but that is our update. Please take a look. I'll leave a link in the description to the announcement from Vans. But other than that, we're going to get back to building an airplane. As you can see, I've been building the fuselage though, so these are not those not signs of domestic violence. That is actually from riveting the bottom skin of the fuselage here. So anyways, I'm really happy with how it's turning out, so we're going to get to that video right now. Enjoy. So first, little confusing bit here, which is with this part here. These are the F1066C-2-L and C-2-R. The reason why I have a little confusion here, I'm going to throw somewhere on the screen here a snippet of how these are identified. I measured each one. This one is my left one. This one is my right one. But the weird thing here is when clecoing it onto the surface, down in the right hand side here, I have probably about 1/8 of an inch overhang. I'll move the camera real quick so you can see it. So again, this part here is the left part. This is identified as the left part according to the measurement of the holes. But you'll notice that I have an overhang on the right hand side, right by my pinky there, about 1/8 of an inch, which is strange. So just testing, maybe the plans are wrong, whatever, I put the right one on. So this is the right part according to hole measurements. And you'll see it lines up perfectly. So I spent too much time just now searching the forums, searching Facebook. It sounds like no one has a clear-cut answer other than build according to the plans and it works, but no one has an answer as to why the overhang exists there. Because you would think, judging by all parts to date, everything lines up very nicely with Vans. So anywho, I'm going to build it according to the plans. That was the general consensus in the Facebook thread that I saw, is build according to the plans. And judging by no other people chiming in the forums, having issues down the line with doing it this way, I'm assuming that this is correct. So yeah, this could just be, it just happens to have that little bit of extra material at the end there because this was a retrofit down the line when they changed the flat motor, so maybe that's why it has the overhang. Feels weird continuing with it that way and building it with it that way, but I am going to build according to the plans. And then if ever in the future, a few years down the line, if I had an issue, I'll comment on this video. But I'm curious if anyone else has gotten to this step or has done this, used this new motor, and has experienced problems by following the plans. Please comment down below, let us all know. Or on the other way around, if you installed the new motor or installed everything per the plans, installed the motor and had no issues, please let me know as well, because I'm going to be thinking about this a lot going forward. But again, I am going to just rivet it in place as the plans instruct, and we'll circle back in the future if that was the wrong decision to make. Back to it. So real quick, something that I saw a while back in the plans when it came to dimpling, especially these larger screw holes. So for instance here for number 8 screw, what you'll find, or I saw in the plan somewhere they mentioned that hitting it with the C-frame with a hammer directly down gives you a more crisp number 8 dimple than a squeezer would, or then possibly in frame, but then the DRDT2, the leverage type of dimpler over there. The reason being, I think, they say that it gives you crisper if you use a hammer method, is because you'll notice when this squeezes, it kind of can flex a little bit in the yoke, so can the DRDT2, and I think the front end of it then opens. You'll see here, I'll do this for reference. You probably, I don't know if you can see that or not on camera, but it does have a, this side over here is tighter. Wherever the back end of the yoke is, seems tighter on the dimple, and then the front end seems to be a little bit loose, where it's got a little bit of give there. So anyways, when they mentioned that using the C-frame with a hammer makes it more crisp, that makes sense because it's going directly down, and you don't have any angle forgiveness from the yoke or the DRDT2. But what I'm getting at here is to make a crisp dimple, number one, do it that way, and then number 2, come back at it again from the other direction, and what I found is it ends up giving you that crisp edge all the way around. So you end up with that first time you hit it, it ends up a little bit loose on one end, come back at it the other direction, and I noticed this on, I think it was cover plates where I noticed it, where I saw a little bit of a hop in the dimple, where it just looked a little bit pillowy on the backside. So coming back after it, changing directions, it made them all look perfect. And then also earlier on, this very first one, you may have seen it on camera, but it actually looked a little bit bent up when I first hit it. When I came at it from the other direction, it flattened out perfect. So anywho, little trick tip there, keeping your dimples nice and crisp is just hit it twice, turning directions. Up there. What's up, dude? I got my buddy with me today. We're having a good time. next we'll have 2 of them in here. Right side is done. Quick side note, but I found it on the RV-10 wiki page, which is very, very useful to skim through to look for any gotchas before jumping into things. So anyways, I think it's rv10.org. I'll post a little text title somewhere on the screen here with the wiki page, which has gotchas that people have contributed to of showing where plans are wrong. A good example is actually this page here. So 26-4, even though it is a recent revision, so February 24th of 2022, it's showing this outboard seat rib with the improper placement of the seatbelt bracket. And as you can see here, the bracket would not go on this side, it would actually go on the opposite side. Same thing over here on the right one. So you would have a bracket here and should have a bracket here on the inboard side of this, but it's not. It's shown in the improper orientation. So this is a good area where skim through that RV-10 wiki page, look for gotchas before jumping into things, because you probably could, theoretically, if you skim through the instructions, maybe this was your favorite photo that you went to, and use this as your source of truth, you could end up installing these brackets backwards. So again, that was page 26-4, and it has to do with the outboard ribs. So this is the proper orientation here. So the very first page, 26-1, does have the proper orientation where you can see that bracket there is on the inboard side of this rib to allow you to get a seatbelt in there. So you'll probably see on camera, but this row, actually both sides have holes that are very, very tight up against the flange here. And you'll notice, I'll go to the first one here, you'll notice that it would interfere, the radius there would interfere with the head of the, with that female die. And what that could do potentially is if I go forward to do this, it could start pushing the flange that way. which I don't want that. I don't want it pushing the flange away. So the way around that is, I think I got it from Cleveland Aircraft Tools, I think. But these smaller diameter dimple dies, I'm just to have on hand, and here it's very handy because you'll notice now with the female die in there, I can go ahead and get that dimpled and it's not going to interfere with the radius there of the flange. So those are handy. You probably should have one if you're building or have gotten to the point in this build, you probably already have one, but if not, those are handy, the small diameter dimple dies.
Video, something or other.
Thanks for the shout out, Brandon.
Or the name on the video for you. But they have these little rubberized doohickeys.
That's funny. That was not planned. Having that shout out from Brandon while recording here is kind of neat to see. So if any of you are not following him, follow Slink Air. He's another Phoenix area builder building an RV-14. Makes really in-depth, very great content, and also has some of the best dad jokes in town. So give him a follow. I'll leave a link in the description, floated somewhere on the screen here as well. But give him a follow. So anyways, thanks Brandon, appreciate the shout out. Quick note before the camera battery dies. I am definitely not following steps step by step. I'm much more of a visual person to where I needed to kind of get it fully assembled to understand what the heck was going on. There are so many different part numbers in play here. Just a lot going on, and I figured it'd be best just to kind of cleco everything together, especially with these final size kits where we're not necessarily match drilling all the time. Anyways, getting everything put together to understand what the heck's going on, because there's a lot of locations where you are dimpling or where you're not dimpling. So kind of getting a clear picture of how things should look. So I am jumping around all in the instructions. You probably noticed that in the video by now that I'm kind of jumping ahead, doing things where I can. So anyways, right now I'm at a point where I know that this side here, this line of rivets, or this line of holes, is going to have 2 keeper rivets, but the whole section here is going to be need to be dimpled for flush rivets. So I'm going to, right now, while this is top of mind, before I forget, just go ahead and get this dimpled. So I already took one piece off here. This piece normally lives right there. So took that piece off. I'm going to go ahead and get that dimpled. Alrighty, so another reason why it was handy for me to kind of get this all assembled without riveting, without moving forward or doing it step by step. Getting it to this stage here is I can kind of start to visualize where things are going to be run. I am going to be doing copycat on just about everything here. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time reinventing the wheel. I'm kind of going to go with what's worked for others out there. So one thing that I am doing, which is super helpful, by the way, if you've not taken a look at, if you're getting to this step or to this part of the process with the fuselage, check out Pilot Rhino's video. He did a very thorough explanation of where everything is going, what you're doing, why you're doing it. Anyways, great video. I've probably watched it 5 or 6 times now. He mentioned where he was putting his comm for his 2 comm antennas. And I think I'm going to do the same thing, which is putting one right here, then one right here. So going 1 bay inboard of the outside here underneath the rear seats. So I think that's where I'm going to do mine as well. So kind of thinking about number 1 that, and then number 2 getting wiring through to the aft end of the fuselage. I know can be a pain, and later on down the road, I think it'll be. Anyways, summed up, I think it'll be easier to kind of plan things now, get things 90% finalized, and then make small changes if needed in the future. But basically what I'm going to do, so thinking about wiring, thinking if I have a radio here, or an antenna here, I know I'm going to have a coax line that's going to come out of here. It's going to have to sneak up and around to go up and over that way to get over that midsection spar there. So, anywho, I marked there. I'm going to go ahead and drill that out for a little bushing. So I'm going to go ahead, when I remove all this, I can step it that and get that drilled up for a bushing. So I'll do that one there. Same thing going on here. I'll have one there. And I'm also starting to think other lines. So running power to the aft end, of getting a large heavy gauge wire to the rear of the airplane, or all the other wiring that's going to go back there, how I want to do that. And I'm going to play serious copycat. A good example here is I'm looking at Phil Perry's video from a while back, 13 years ago. This is how he did his. And I know that he commented on here, responded to someone saying that he was able to get was that number 2 or 2 gauge wiring back there without issues doing this method of kind of having no super hard angle bends here, kind of nicely sweeping it through here up and over. So that's what I'm going to do here. So you'll see my marks where I have kind of steps up like a pyramid. Probably hard to see on camera. Basically, I'm going to have 1 hole on this one. I'm going to have 2 holes on this one, and I'm going to have 3 holes on this one. With the idea being able to have no super sharp bend, so that bottom conduit will be like that, centered across those ribs. The next one will be right there, centered across those, and the next there. And you'll see that also feeds well into each of the existing lightning holes here. So that's how I'm going to do that. But you do your own research. I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about. I'm doing a whole lot of copycat and copying what others have done if they've had success. And that's how I'm doing things. So you do your own research. That's the plan. So we'll get to it. Alrighty, quick tangent here. Planning ahead for doublers for comm antennas. I probably mentioned it earlier in the video, but my intention is to do 2 comm antennas, both of which can be under the rear seat, similar to the way a lot of other builders are doing. But yeah, my intention is to use the dreaded laser cut parts. You may think that's a silly idea, but it's actually, I'm actually pretty confident with this because it just so works out that a doubler the size that I need here is perfectly matched right in the middle there. Of course, not involving the holes here. This part here was one of those red marked parts. They didn't want us using it. It was one of these actually bulkheads that I had to get switched out for a punch part. But I'm not going to use the holes themselves. But you'll notice already, just for testing purposes, I drew out just one random antenna that we're considering. I drew out their hole pattern where you have the main hole in the center for the BNC connector, but then the pattern for the bolts that hold the antenna to the bottom of the fuselage. So anyways, drew it out, and this would fit really well inside of a doubler here. I'll get 025 to match the rib thickness. Doubler then, which I'm gonna make out of 040. So we're gonna have 030, we're gonna have underneath that, we're gonna have 025, so 055. It's gonna be really hefty, really thick, and I'll feel pretty confident there having an antenna underneath it, especially with the pattern there. So that's how I'm gonna do this. I'll go ahead and probably cut this out first, and I'll just trace it to make it easier. I'll use it, and again, laser cut parts, they're I know it's a bummer to have them, but they're handy, I think, for one-off things like this, where I don't have to buy a doubler now. I think the doublers are 35 bucks or 30 bucks or so, but don't have to buy it, and another way to reuse the material and keep it from going to a scrapyard. So we'll get to it. So doublers or triplers, whatever the heck you want to call them at this point, are done. I'm happy with how they turned out. I had to recreate this one over here. Don't know what happened, but whenever I tried to mirror image and match drill, things got crooked. I didn't like it. So anyways, done. They line up nicely. I feel very confident with how this is honestly probably overdone. But I feel confident with how this worked out. You'll notice the top and the bottom I did offset. Reason being, I'm going to have this here, which is a 3/16 hole. This in the middle will be over or enlarged with the unibit after match drilling to the skin and everything. Eventually, I think it's a 9/16 that goes here. But given that I have those there, I was going to intersect, or I was going to get really, really close edge distance wise to a hole being right there. So I split the difference pretty much and just called it a day there. So anyways, probably way overdone. I honestly probably didn't have to do this, but I had the time. I did it. It was fun. It made use of an old laser cut part that otherwise would just be recycled material, and it's very secure. Next step though is going to involve getting the actual bottom skin put on here. I know, just judging by having 3 SD cards that are already totally full, this video is probably already getting really long. So I'm going to end the video here. Next video will actually involve getting skins on, prepped, not necessarily match drilled, but prepped. I'll match drill these doublers, triplers, whatever the heck these are now, onto it. And we'll actually get to riveting on the bottom section to close out this section. So anyhow, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Adios.